Welcome to True Out Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Today, if you're watching this live on YouTube and Facebook, it is voting day. So get out there and support the person that you want. But remember what Stalin said. Doesn't care who votes. He just cares who counts them. No, Mr. Censor, I'm not talking about election integrity. I would never do that. Okay, so aging and brain function. We have to redo this because the censors didn't like the last one that we put out 2 years ago. So let's look at the difference between lifespan and life expectancy. Human lifespan is the length a person lives. Life expectancy is the average period. So what's a human potential? What are humans' lifespan? How do they live? Okay, not based on environmental toxins or trauma or anything else. Leonard Hayflick, How We Age. There is no evidence that the maximum human lifespan has changed from when it was about 100,000 years ago. It's still 115 years old, he says. Now, all of the censored information that we're going to have after this that was partly on the brain health that we can't talk about is going to be on the Dr. B VIP. If you're watching it through the Dr. B VIP, you'll watch it uninterrupted. And if you are watching it, God bless you. Thank you for your support. We've been demonetized, shadow banned, everything, and God bless you. Now, the apprenticeship program is usually the last Thursday of every month. This one's going to be this Thursday, the November 10th. And so it's going to be on digestion. We're going to talk how your body breaks down nutrients, assimilates those nutrients, how you literally take a banana and apple and turn it into eye tissue or blood tissue. It's the most fun class that I ever do. I love it. Extreme Health Academy, I'm in there at least a couple of times a month answering questions. And you can still get on there for 2 weeks for free. It's the Bergman 14 is the code. And then we're trying to post this everywhere so that it doesn't get lost. But let's look at this. Benjamin Radford. Okay, human lifespan's nearly constant for 2,000 years. Lifespan, that means your potential has been over 100, could be 120, could be 115 for 2,000 years. So how come we're not meeting that? Or how come you were taught differently? Because remember, the media is teaching you. God knows, I mean, the school system today is different. So when you hear lifespan at the turn of the last century, 1907, is about 45 years. So do you think that everybody by 46, they were all dying? Okay, that extended to 66 in 1957. In 2007, it was 75.5. So when you look at this, they're factoring in infant mortality. So if you survived infancy, then you were going to live to a ripe old age as long as you avoided fast-moving cars and wars. The maximum human lifespan, a concept confused with life expectancy, has remained more or less the same for thousands of years. So here's a couple, 2 children born in 1900. One dies at birth, one lives to 90. What's their life expectancy? 45. Okay, so, even though that's not what actually happened. But this is how you manipulate statistics. Now, this is kind of cool. We have really good, accurate data from 300 BC in Greece. And you can see the people, just like our founding fathers. I mean, if they made it through the war, they're dying in 85, 90, all those different ages, unless they had really good medical care like George Washington, and, he died early. No, it's a good bleeding. Yeah. Okay, I love this. Hieronymus, 104, went to war, stood much toil and many wounds, lived 104 years. Okay, still vigorous in his marital relations with all his faculties. I mean, this is normal. These guys are not tapping on a glass, waving to their family with their brains gone, drugged out. Wait, no, that was 2020, 2021. Okay, and 2022 in Psycho World. Okay, Janine Calment, I love this gal. lived to 122 years old. Now, I mean, super active, strong will, everything else. And I love this. She met Van Gogh when she was 13. She was alive when the Titanic went down. She smoked cigarettes for 100 years. She stopped smoking in the last few years because she felt it was rude to ask other people to light her cigarette. She would have a glass of port, and she loved good food, chocolate, and cakes. With that type of lifestyle, I would want to live to 120. Okay, now here's a gal, 100 and what would this be? 16? Healthy lifestyle, stiff brandy, and bacon and eggs. Okay, but think of this: 100 years ago, that they weren't raising these animals with antibiotics. Okay, in toxic environment, they didn't have refrigeration, so they had appropriate preservation. And another occasion, an honest, good life and adherence to the Ten Commandments. So she had certain values, certain ways that she would choose to live. That's brilliant. I think that might catch on. I heard this one interview when I was researching longevity. This 19-year-old something college student, asked this one, and I think she was like 101 years old. What's the secret to living long? And this 102-year-old girl, deadpan, said, "Don't die." And I got, God, common sense. You gotta love that. Okay. Now we're in a problem though because we're in a psychotic environment. Okay. Journal of Public Health 2013. Mortality fell substantially in every country except nervous system disease. Alzheimer's rose in 6 out of 7 countries: Australia, Canada, England, Wales, Netherlands, and especially USA. Now, I know, see, this article was from 2013. So I know you think Australia and Canada are communist countries. Not back then. Okay. Okay. And especially in so what's causing this? If we're designed to live over 100, this should make inquiring minds think, what the hell is going on? Epigenetic contribution. So epigenetic means a control above the genes. So there's some kind of factor that's negatively affecting how your body is regenerating. Now, they're talking about morbidity, pressurizing families, health and social services. But, let's find out. So this one, medication-induced dementia. Medication-induced hallucinations, cognitive side effects to medications. So if they're looking at things that are neurotoxic, it seems like medications. Now, I know you find this unusual. So, like if I went back to the 1600s and I said, to torture someone to make sure if they're a witch, and if they lived through the torture, they were obviously in league with the devil. But if they died during the torture, then they were obviously innocent, and God would protect them. This would make sense to you back then. Okay, if we were talking about the Spanish Inquisition, if you said crazy stuff like the sun revolves around the earth, okay, then you were accepted. If you said the earth revolves around the sun and you happen to be Galileo, no, you would be excommunicated. Your eternal soul would be damned because you had different pictures of authority. Okay, so if you're in a country or a world that thinks that giving you a toxic chemical to alter your physiology without looking at the underlying cause is called healthcare, okay, and you're with Kaiser, okay, then, or one of those other ridiculous organizations, okay, and you have the pharmaceutical industry running your media, television, education, and the information going there to keep a perpetual supply of customers, this might not make sense to you, okay, but just work with me on this. Life expectancy is declining in America, declining, okay, and not by a little, and not by the insane interventions that I can't mention. Continues to drop, okay? We lost 26 years worth of life, okay? It's declining. Now here's one. Now, and this is New England Journal of Medicine. It's going to decline, expected to decline in the 21st century. So even before the insane interventions, like really to protect you, I'm going to close your business, lock you in a room, and make you wear a face diaper. Okay, no, this is like, type 2 diabetes, okay? A decreasing in mean age of the onset of diabetes. That means that people are getting poisoned younger and younger. Cardiovascular disease, hypertension, asthma, cancer, and gastrointestinal problems is inevitable. Now, this is interesting. Medication-induced mitochondrial damage and disease. Now, I want you to pay attention to this one because all your cells have little powerhouses. They're called mitochondria. They even have different DNA than you do. Okay, so this is a totally unique setup. Now, as advanced that you think we are, okay, in science, and I know the scientists out there think, yes, we're the best. Right. 500 years from now, they're going to be going, really? Okay, you guys are idiots. These powerhouses, anything that negatively affects how your cells are powered is going to negatively affect how you reproduce cells. So, medication induced, have you ever heard of these conditions? Schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, dementia, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, strokes, Parkinson's, transient ischemic attacks, cardiac myopathies. We're hearing a lot of that nowadays. Chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, diabetes, hepatitis C. But all of these can be explained from medication causing the damage to those powerhouses, the mitochondria. What kind of medications? Cholesterol medications, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, acetaminophen, blood pressure medications. I mean, virtually every drug out there damages how your cells reproduce themselves. Now, I know this is contrary to what the television tells you and contrary to what your pharmaceutical Pez dispenser, also called a medical doctor, says. Okay, so let's go in and let's actually see this. Okay, because remember, if you think that treating somebody with an adaptation to stress with a toxic chemical that has a myriad of effects, that is considered the standard of care now. Okay, you know, I'm sorry, what was the standard of care when Washington was ill? Bloodletting. Okay, yeah, it didn't work out well for him. So now the blue zones, 9 lessons about the blue zones. So we got the human being is designed to live over 100 years. Hasn't changed for over 2,000 years. Very few of us have made it, okay? But a lot more could. But right now we're in a state where many people are dying early, and I mean really early. I'm talking like 50, 60, and 70. You know, in my lifetime, I want people, and I'm talking when we're having a conversation, that person died at 110. Oh, really? Why? What happened? Oh my God, he had another good 20 years left. Okay, that's the way we got to look at the world. So what are these books, what are the blue zones telling us? Areas around the world that people consistently live on over 100. Moderate, regular physical activity. If you exercise too much or too little, you're not going to work. Okay, it doesn't work. You got to move every joint every day to be healthy. This is exactly what we recommend. A life purpose. A life purpose? That means you get up and you want to get up. You have to do something to feed the goats, feed the chicken, talk to your relatives, connect with people. Stress reduction. 3 stressors: physical, chemical, emotional. Okay, so you have to look at those stressors and to identify them. And there's going to be healthy amounts of stress reduction. Moderate caloric intake. This means that as you age, you may need less calories. And so this way, your body isn't creating extra calories. And it just makes sense because if you've ever heard of triglycerides, that's the greatest way to store extra calories. Okay. Plant-based diet. Now, plant-based diet doesn't mean vegan. Okay. If I get one more hate mail like that, I'm going to choke you. Okay. And I'm not a violent person. Okay. Plant-based diet means you're eating more plants than animals. And why would this be? Because as you age, you produce less stomach acid. And in order to build a body, you got to get amino acids from the proteins, fatty acids from the fats, and usable sugars from the carbohydrates. And it's easier to get that stuff out of plants than it is the amino acids out of animal products. But that also means the majority of them, all of them, have meat, except for one group in California. They're total vegetarians. Moderate alcohol intake, especially wine. Longest lived males on the planet are from Sardinia, and I think it's 7 liters of red wine a month. But this is red wine not sprayed with pesticides. They typically grow it themselves, ferment it themselves, so it has healthy bacteria. um, engagement in spirituality or religion. So you have a purpose and a belief and living with a certain set of rules and values. It's like the gal said, following the 10 Commandments. I mean, it's a good idea that you have certain parameters to live within. And if you realize that there are powers that are greater than yourself, then you have this more content and service attitude. Engagement in family life. Good God, what could be better? And I know you're thinking that the governmental interventions that separated families, this one is got the forced medical procedure, this one hasn't, and neither the twain shall meet. Okay, you should have a different job. You should have, and so literally to destroy families, to shorten your life, you're going to destroy, you're going to lose one of these. Engagement in social life. This means that you have a connection with others. Solitary confinement is still the big one. That's the still one that everybody gets tortured with. Traditionally, what we talk about dysfunction and disease in chiropractic and natural health is the 3 T's: trauma, toxins, and thought. And if a mind misinterprets environmental signals that generates an inappropriate response, this could be enough to undermine an entire system. Misperceptions can be lethal. I just got this from a voodoo witch doctor. If I place it on my forehead, I shall live forever. If I place it on my forehead, I shall be struck down by lightning. Both could be true depending on my belief system. Does that make sense? Think of the witch doctors. Now, let's look at their lifestyles, okay, in the blue zones, because I'm going to talk a little bit about cancer, a little bit about brain function, because our society is really having trouble with that. The biggest problem with our society is the delusion that taking a toxic chemical to change your physiology is beneficial long term. Okay, if you have type 1 diabetes, you need insulin. If you have had some radiation exposure or damage where your thyroid has just been exploded, you're going to need ground up pig thyroid. Okay, but what common lifestyles do they say? Family put ahead of other concerns. So you have that sense of community, that sense of reason for getting up. Smoking less. 20% of all centenarians still smoke tobacco. Semi-vegetarian. It's derived from plants, the semi. Moderate, constant moderate physical activity. That means you're not laying around just for the heck of it. You're always getting up to do things. A buddy of mine, his great aunt, who's 98, living in Greece, she still has to go down to the river to get the water in the bucket. And he says, I can rig up something for you. No, she likes it. Social engagement, most every blue zone consumes legumes or beans. Almost all food consumed by the centenarians grow within 10 miles. So what does that mean? Fresh? Does it also mean seasonal? Does it also mean for some type of preserving, there's going to be some fermentation process or drying process? I mean, it's just brilliant. Okay. They use fermentation, an ancient way to make nutrients bioavailable, sourdough bread, wine, pickled vegetables. What do they consume? Water. The Seventh-day Adventists, which are total vegans, okay, 7 glasses of water a day. Coffee. Research associates coffee drinking with lower rates of dementia and Parkinson's disease. Ray Peat, okay, talks about how 6 cups of coffee a day is a vitamin for the thyroid, but we're talking organic. Coffee is a high pesticide group or thing. Sardinians, Acarians, Nicoyans all drink copious amounts of coffee. Tea, Okinawans nurse green tea all day long. Red wine, people who drink it in moderation tend to outlive those that don't. 1 to 3 glasses of red wine per day, often with a meal or with friends. I mean, this just makes sense. But again, this is not pesticide laden. Okay, this is organic, and this is why when people say, "Doc, what kind of diet can I have to reduce this inflammatory bowel disease?" Say, "Look, you're going to eat like your great grandparents ate." It's we're We're not looking for massive superfoods all the time. Just, live back. We got the plan. Milk from cows isn't common, goats and sheep milks, but it's mainly fermented into yogurt, sour milk, cheese, eggs, half a cook of cooked beans, black beans, lentil, garbanzo beans, 2 handfuls of almonds, pistachios. Almonds are high in vitamin E, magnesium. Peanuts high in folate and vitamin B. What's folate? Okay, that prevents birth defects. Brazil nuts. I do this stuff every day. Okay, I mean, fantastic. It protects prostate, high in selenium, cashews, walnuts. And those things last for a long time. You don't need to really preserve them. Spinach, kale, beet, turnip, chards. I mean, we've got, if anyone's growing broccoli or cauliflower, the leaves are better than the fruit or whatever you would call that thing, the broccoli coming up. It's fantastic, but it spoils really quick. So we go in there and harvest it and saute it up. It's fantastic. They do 4 to 5 of the blue zones consume meat, but they do it as a celebratory food. It's good, tasty, nice. Don't worry, you're a vegetarian. I'll make you lamb. Big fat Greek wheat? Okay, sweet potatoes. Oh my God, I can make you a sweet potato dish. I guarantee it will blow your doors off. Just incredible. Sardines, anchovies, cod. So, small non-predatory fish. Breads are made from wheat, barley, sourdough breaks them down. And you might say, well, I'm gluten intolerant. The sourdough actually helps break it down. And if you were always gluten intolerant, that would be unusual. Okay, there could be a damage to your intestinal tract, but typically it's toxic, poisonous gluten from the dwarf wheat that was developed back in the 70s. Or you may be gluten sensitive because they're spraying glyphosates, which is a mineral chelator and an antibiotic on top of it. So there's a lot of reasons that people aren't able to process wheat, even though wheat has been grown for thousands and thousands of years. Now this again, so life expectancy is going down. Medication induced is causing your cells to not have the right energy. And if you look at this, cancer, heart attacks, diabetes, allergies, Crohn's, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, all of these can be fought with nearly every fruit and vegetable. It can't be that simple. And this is when you look at what's causing the blue zones to be these people. They exercise every day. This isn't a gym every day. They just do stuff like work in the yard. Okay, take care of their family, paint their. We've got one guy he's 92 now. He's got a boat from the 1930s. We always joke, boats from the 1930s. He's from the 1920s. But he hauls himself up the wooden mast twice a year to put the varnish on it. Now, brain function. Do you want to live long and not have a good brain? Don't talk about the president. It's voting day. That's just mean. Just mean. I like your sense of humor, though. Okay. No, cognitive. Okay. Brain function. Okay. We got to look at this. Okay. The cerebellum, and there's the small brain in the back. It gets all its influence from your body. So we keep talking about physical, chemical, emotional stress. Well, you have a physical stressor like this, you're getting abnormal stimulation of that cerebellum. That cerebellum not only controls the frontal lobe, but it does a lot of work in the rest of the brain. So verbal fluency, working memory, spatial cognition, personality changes, disinherited, disinhibited, inappropriate behavior, language deficits. Okay, all of these have to do with prefrontal, frontal, parietal lobes, and that cerebellum influences it. So you might think, wow, that little cerebellum. So if anything that you have is giving an abnormal influence to that, could that have an abnormal function or a result of that? So which one of these two patients here have a better cerebellar stimulus? Okay, you might say, duh. Okay, but now again, think of the psychotic world of witch hunting that we're in the 1600s. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. It's 2022. It's way worse than the 1600s. Okay, you just had public condemnation of one or two people. You don't have forced medical procedures without informed consent on everyone. Okay, no, this is way more efficient at destroying lives. Okay, so when you're looking at this, do you think that anybody that has anxiety, stress, depression, impulse control, cognitive dissonance, okay, I mean, all of these different mental and emotional factors, that you should look at the stimulation to the cerebellum? Like, duh, okay? And they're not looking at it. Do you think the psychologist that has that person who has anxiety and stress says, by God, we've got to get you to the corrective chiropractor. We've got to get those digital x-rays to see and find somebody that can restore that cerebellar stimulation. Okay, let's look at this. Cerebellum and basal ganglia. Now, what kind of things are in basal ganglia? And they're interconnected. We're looking at multiple aspects of behavior through interaction of the cerebellar cortex. Okay. Furthermore, we've discussed these pathways to provide a useful framework for understanding cerebellar contributions to the manifestation of two prototypical basal ganglia disorders. Have you heard of Parkinson's disease or dystonia? Yes. Think of that. So, if Parkinson's disease is an adaptation which movement generates dopamine, okay, and that has a calming effect. Do you think that a chronic stressor can have an abnormal function? These guys do. Is that why exercise helps older brains? This is why every zone, blue zone, they exercise every day? They got to move every joint every day. Okay, only on days you want to be healthy. Okay, what I'll tell you is, okay, only on days you brush your teeth. That's the only time you got to do it. We've demonstrated that hippocampal loss in late adulthood is not inevitable and can be reversed with moderate intensive exercise. The things that contribute to damage to your brain is blood pressure drugs or accumulation of environmental toxins, things that we can't talk about. So think of this. We have a map of people living beyond 100, healthy and brains working. We know what to do. This map of human lifespan has not changed in 2,000 years. Multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's patients. Okay, you're talking 91 and 92% had positive results. Now, was this a one-time thing? Yes, I know Christ could do it one time and it would be done. Okay. No, these guys are getting adjustments for 5 years. Now, if you're adjusting the body for 5 years, don't know what the frequency was. Could have been once a week, could have been 3 times a week, could have been 3 times a day. But when you're doing the adjustment, are you changing that influence to the brain? Yes or yes? So 5 years of this, does that change the brain? And so when we're talking Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis, you're actually getting that stimulus in there. I mean, it just makes sense. But also, if you're moving your body, you're getting it in there. Okay, what about cancer? Okay, your body produces 1 billion cells a day. 10,000 of those are cancer. And when you look statistically, and remember, I taught human dissection for years. They say 50% of everybody over 50 has cancerous tumors that'll never be an issue because the body walls it off. 70% of everybody over 70, 80% of everybody over 80. So the body is forming cancerous tumors. And this is why when we talk about dealing with cancer, cancer is not your body being attacked by something. Okay? It literally, your body formed these tumors to wall stuff away, to protect you. Okay, and I encourage you, this is not a talk about cancer. We're going to do that next week, hopefully, if I get a chance this weekend to build it more. But you're going to find out you don't try and attack the cancer, you try and strengthen your immune system and find out the toxicity or deficiency that caused your body to form it in the first place. Cancer is a metabolic disease, Dr. Thomas Seyfried. Chemotherapy. Now, this is a unique idea. Okay, you're sick, you have a tumor formed in your body, and so we're going to give you massive amounts of poison to destroy the cells growing in that tumor, and it's going to have a serious negative effect on you, but we're going to destroy that cancer. Hopefully we won't destroy you, except chemotherapy drugs are cytotoxic. They kill cells. They cause DNA damage. They can actually increase cancer, sensory loss, nausea, vomiting, hair loss, sex drive loss, wheezing, breathing. I mean, the list goes on for forever. Okay. Um, does anybody know in here anybody that had the surgery, chemo, radiation, and it came back? Raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 people in the room did not raise their hand. The majority did. Okay, now chemotherapy is carcinogenic. Secondary cancers surface years after treatments. Chemotherapy boosts cancers and long-term mortalities. Whatever manipulations we're doing to tumors can inadvertently do something to increase the number of tumors and become more metastatic. But if we look that cancer is not a disease attacking you, okay, that your body actually formed it. Nutrition and Journal of Metabolism, okay, 2010. Emerging evidence indicates that impaired cellular energy metabolism. Wait, I remember hearing cellular energy metabolism coming out of my mouth a couple of minutes ago. So does this mean that those cells, if how they function, because all cells got to take in nutrients, produce proteins, and eliminate waste products, okay, impaired cellular energy metabolism is the defining characteristic of nearly all cancers, cellular or tissue origin. All cancers, all hallmarks of cancer including aerobic glycolysis, the Warburg effect, can be linked to impaired mitochondrial function and energy metabolism. A view of cancer as primarily a metabolic disease will impact approaches to cancer management. So anything you do that negatively affects mitochondria is going to negatively affect cancer. So does that mean, does chemotherapy help the mitochondria? Or is it poisonous? See the insane mindset? Here it is, medication-induced mitochondrial damage. Okay, let's just look at this, okay? Because when we look at any cancer, any area, okay, we don't treat the cancer. We do help the body, physical, chemical, emotional stress. And that's the key. Okay, healthy prostate. What do you do for a prostate? Okay, number one, you got to restore nerve supply to it. Look at our prostate videos. You got to stabilize your pelvis. You've got to change how you walk, because if your gait is a little off from bad knees or bad feet or something, that's going to be a consistent thing. You got to stabilize the pelvis. Eliminate processed sugar, reduce toxins, detox the body, eliminate all processed foods. If you want to induce cancer, start eating a boatload of sausage. Fish or krill oil, selenium, that's the Brazil nuts, vitamin E, fresh vegetables, broccoli, walnuts. Wait a second. I've seen this diet. Where did I see this diet just a couple minutes ago? You're right, the blue zones. Oh my gosh, I see a correlation here. Okay, tomatoes, potential war against prostate cancer. Okay, now lycopene. I saw the most brilliant study. It was in the early 2000s where they isolated lycopene, which is, bioactive enzyme from tomatoes. Okay. And they tried to build a drug so they could sell it, because you can't make a drug out of a dried tomato because that's not patentable. But you can get an enzyme out of there and patent that sucker. And so they injected lycopene in tumors in rats, and they injected a whole tomato in a tumor in a rat. Guess which one worked better? Yeah, the tomato. And when the scientists were confronted with this, they said, look, those are over 10,000 bioactive enzymes in a tomato. We're in our infancy of our research until we find out how that unique tomato works. Here, but look at this. Okay, stops the growth of tumors by interfering with normal abnormal cell growth. Prostate cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, endometrial cancer, lining of the uterus. I mean, dark green leafy spinach, mouth cancers, esophageal cancers, stomach, ovarian, endometrial, lung, colorectal, garlic, onions, leeks, chives, colon cancer, stomach cancer, all the sulfur-containing things. This is what we do for people with colds. Carrots. Okay, I'm talking with one guy, it's driving me crazy because Gerson therapy has been used on carrots because they're antifungal properties, and they actually help clean the lungs, which is a blood filter. Boy, I just got rid of carbon dioxide in a bunch of cells. Okay, I know what you're thinking. I should actually rebreathe in my exhalation. Okay, yeah, that'll be good. Sorry, let's burn some witches. No, that's the same technology that we're in today. Okay, antioxidants that contain carrots. Okay, falcarcinol, and I really wish you could look at that. Falcarinol. That is brilliant. This is one of the reasons that when people say sugar-free is cancer, sugar-free cancer. Okay, no. Okay, the phytonutrients, bioflavonoids in carrot juice, they've been using it for 80 years. I mean, it's brilliant. Black seed oil, over 800 studies on it. Wait a second. Antifungal, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, all these things that poison mitochondrial, that the drugs that you're supposed to be taking, that your medication Pez dispenser is giving you, okay, because he's not really studying this stuff. I mean, you got a psychologist that's not looking at cerebellar stimulation? Is that a doctor? No. No. Well, luckily, the government in California has taken away the decisions from the doctors. So never mind, the government will decide. He'll be out of the picture. Okay, turmeric, anti-inflammatory, anti-neoplastic properties. I mean, and this is just stuff you can eat. I was talking with Dr. Tony today. He came by. I love that guy. And we were talking about how challenging it is because I'm having challenge finding the company to formulate our supplements. Okay, because they're going out of business. But when you have somebody, just think of this. And if anybody has a vitamin manufacturing company out there, let me know. Has anyone in here ever sliced turmeric? Okay, everything turns yellow. Has anyone eaten fresh turmeric? Everything turns yellow. Okay, I'm talking your skin, your teeth, your toothbrush, everything else, but massive, beautiful properties. So me and Dr. Tony are talking, I want to get turmeric, black pepper, okay, and Allison from the garlic, okay, all ground up, put it in a capsule with a little bit of cayenne supplement. Okay, so that's going to vasodilate. It's going to be all these stuff in one. And he says, you're going to have a really hard time doing that. I said, why? Why? No, it's going to be because you have to clean out everything after you do the turmeric. You think building vitamins is easy? No, it's not. Okay, so what do we know? Okay, for sure. Number one, your lifespan, okay, hasn't changed in over 2,000 years. Everyone here should be living healthy, happy, connected over 115 years old. Okay, absolutely. What kind of special diet or herbs do you want? Eat stuff that's local, seasonal, free of preservatives and poisons. Okay. I mean, you can really expand on that. You got to exercise every day, but realize there's an inborn intelligence in the body. Your body is designed to live here. You don't need to be afraid of each other. You don't need to be afraid of mythical things that are attacking you according to the government. Your body is self-healing and self-regulating, just like every other animal species on the planet. There is no elephant with high blood pressure. There's no caribou that has bowel disorders unless they're being poisoned. There is no giraffe with antidepressants unless they're locked in a cage. Okay, just understand, when you have a doctor that says, I know what's wrong with you, you need this to regulate your metabolic response. Really, doc, what's broken? Why is my blood pressure going up? Could it be that I'm dehydrated, stressed, or I'm talking to an idiot? Okay. Your expression of life is based on sensory input to the brain. So does that mean that we have to look at how the cerebellum is being stimulated? Duh. Your brain is always adapting and growing new nerve cells. Does that mean neuroplasticity, that through regular exercise or movement, you change that stimulus and that changes how the brain works? By changing how your brain is wired, you change the expression. By movement causes changes in the brain structure and function. And I mean, when I was, and I told this story before, but it bears double. I'm in there, I'm a student, I'm working, for the audiovisual and for the labs. I had no money when I was going to school. This is why I was tutoring every subject. Okay, I'm making these brain slices, and I actually made this knife because you had to do it in one section. It had to be really, really long. You had to, do it in a certain fashion. When I made this slice, this chiropractic neurologist walked by, and that's what inspired me to go into that area. This section slate fell down, and he says that brain came from somebody with the lower left limb dysfunction. And all the cadaver containers, okay, were sealed up. And he didn't, I mean, he knew just by looking at the brain that I had removed it from somebody with a healed lower left limb amputation. And I'm looking at him going, this is like wizardry. How did he know? But think of it. You get that constant sensory stimulus. When you get a knee joint replaced, you're going to see nobody's walking around like this with both knees. They're walking around like this because they need to get more sensory input, because there's sensory input in the joints. And if you have less of that, you're going to have a change in brain structure. Is that why Blue Zone people move every joint every day? Just about? Makes sense. This is why we put this up. To live long and healthy. You don't need any secret superfoods, although secret superfoods are great for considering we're in a toxic environment. They're fantastic. Proper nerve supply, regular exercise, proper nutrition, sufficient rest, and prayer and meditation. It's kind of like the 9 things boiled down to 5. I should put social interaction here, but I'm pissed off with a bunch of my family members right now because they won't even talk to me because I have a difference in point of view, and we can get together as long as we don't talk about 5 different subjects. Oh, I'm good with that. Right. Okay. Now we're going to get into dangerous information. And the first couple of slides in the dangerous information are slides I had to take out of the aging and brain function slide in order to get it passed by the censors. So if you're watching this on Facebook and YouTube, God bless you. Thank you. Share it, clip it. Okay, it's going to be on the full version next week. If you're watching Dr. BVIP, you're going to see it uninterrupted. And thank you so much for your support. I mean, literally, since we've been demonetized, these videos cost me about $3,000 a month. Okay, with the editing and everything else. And thank you. That's really appreciated.